Good old Valentine's Day. Actually, I frickin' hate Valentine's Day. It's one of those holidays where either you don't mind it or you fucking hate it. I doubt very seriously that anyone ever says they love Valentine's Day, but despite all that, Valentine's Day is a commercial success, as every year millions of people are guilted into buying pointless gifts and flowers. That's something somebody has to water. Hey, I like you so much, I'm going to give you a chore to do. And plus, those flowers are going to die anyway. Love you. And lots of candy is bought as well. I mean, what's the deal with those conversation hearts? Aren't you supposed to like the person you give them to? Those things are terrible. It seems more like a punishment. Oh, I like you so much. Here's a box of sidewalk chalk to eat. Love you. Valentine's Day is clearly just a commercial holiday that somebody made up just to sell more junk. But it is something fun to take your mind off the long, cold, bitter hopelessness of the dead winter because there's nothing else going on. And as a kid, I guess this was pretty fun, especially in school when you'd have your Valentine's Day party. You know, you'd have cupcakes and you would exchange little cards and stuff like that. Yeah, those little Valentine's cards were pretty cool. You never knew what you were going to get. And through the 80s, they had tons of these. Yeah, there were Pac-Man ones and Superpowers ones. It was a fun time. And I'm guessing they don't do this anymore in school.
Students, there will be no more Valentine's Day parties because Aiden is offended.
I'm guessing that's pretty much how that went. But oh well, we had our fun when we were kids. So Valentine's Day would seem to be just another commercial black hole. But is that really all Valentine's Day is? I mean, surely there must be a deeper meaning to it, right? Well, there is, and the origin is actually quite interesting. Its full title is Saint Valentine's Day, and it's named after Saint Valentine. The legend of Saint Valentine is based on a few different people, which means the origin of Saint Valentine's Day is a little murky. Fucking murky! Because recorded history tells us that there was at least 3 different Saint Valentines, and all these legends kind of got smushed into one. Well, sort of. You see, there's a few different stories here. Each of the Saint Valentines lived like a bazillion years ago, during the Roman Empire. But let me guess, Saint Valentine is the patron saint of true love, right? Well, that would certainly make sense, but one legend has it that Saint Valentine got his recognition by helping Christians escape Roman prisons. So, happy Valentine's Day. So yeah, that's a bit different than my original guess. Well, there is another story that's pretty much just like that story, except St. Valentine gets captured and is to be executed, but during his stay in the prison, he falls in love with the jailer's daughter. And right before he's executed, he writes a letter to his lover that starts off, "From your Valentine." And the phrase took off, history was made, and he writes not only what could be the first love letter, but the first Valentine. And there's another story about St. Valentine where he performs illegal marriages within the Roman Empire. And he wed many young lovers before he was caught and executed for defying the emperor. Man, those Romans were harsh. So I guess St. Valentine is the patron saint of true love. Valentine's Day, as we know it, actually comes from a lot of different things. The tradition of exchanging Valentine's Day cards is said to have come from Victorian England. And the tradition of giving gifts or candy is said to have come from some old pagan rituals. So really, Valentine's Day is a hybrid of a bunch of things smooshed together, and it certainly evolved into a big commercial empire. And the origin of Valentine's Day is certainly more interesting than I anticipated. And it would seem that Valentine's Day is indeed not something someone just made up to sell more junk, even though that's what it sort of became. So the commercial empire of Valentine's Day would not be lost on the world of entertainment. And of course, there is television specials for Valentine's Day, though not many, but there are a few. And I'm guessing that since it's a holiday, there must be a Valentine's Day Charlie Brown special, right? Yes. Matter of fact, there's 2 of them. There's Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown, which first aired on CBS January 28, 1975. And this would air annually all the way up to the year 2000. That's a pretty long time for something I never knew existed. And even though it's not very well known, its home media history is pretty extensive. And the first release was not on VHS. In 1982, it was released on CED as part of a compilation with other Charlie Brown specials. And if you don't know what a CED is, it's sort of like a Laserdisc. In fact, it's a forgotten format that was in direct competition with Laserdisc, sort of like how Beta was in direct competition with VHS. Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown was eventually released on VHS in 1986 and 1988 by Media Home Entertainment, and it would be released in 1995 by Paramount Home Video and again in 1996 by Paramount home video, only this time it's in a kid's clamshell. I don't get why they would re-release it only 1 year after they just released it. Oh well, it's their money. And then there's a Charlie Brown Valentine, which first aired on CBS February 14th, 2002. But it's one of the modern Charlie Brown specials, so that means it's dog shit. So let's move on. So the commercial empire of Valentine's Day would eventually encapsulate the world of entertainment. But to what extent? How many other Valentine's Day TV specials are there? Are there any Valentine's Day movies? Are there any Valentine's Day horror movies? Well, today we're going to find answers to these questions and delve into the cinematic landscape to find Valentine's Day shit. So raise the mainsail and get ready to offend Aiden and be mine in today's episode, the Captain Adams VHS pirate ship Valentine's Day special. So Valentine's Day is certainly one of the top 5 holidays, and of course there's a Charlie Brown special about it. But were there any others who would get in on the action of the Valentine's Day TV special? Well, Bugs Bunny sure as shit did, with Bugs Bunny's Valentine, which premiered February 14th, 1979. And this, like the other Looney Tunes specials they made throughout the 70s, is just a bunch of older Looney Tunes cartoons mixed with modern animation. Yeah, this is just a repackaged job, and man, you can really tell when the edits kick in. Yeah, the 1970s Looney Tunes stuff is just weird to me. It just doesn't seem like Looney Tunes. And when it's a Looney Tunes product that's not animated by Chuck Jones or Fritz Freleng, you can really tell. Yeah, they can try to repackage Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies all they want, but there's no topping the originals, that's for sure. And what's interesting about this is it was eventually renamed from Bugs Bunny's Valentine to Bugs Bunny's Cupid Capers. For some reason, I have no idea why. And this was eventually released on VHS, but it's very, very hard to find. You can find the Spanish version, though. Now, to me, the cover art reminds me more of Easter than it does Valentine's Day. I mean, come on, they're using a bunch of spring motifs. But despite my personal opinion, this is still a very hard-to-find VHS, but it's out there. If you wanted this, though, I mean, me personally, I always just kind of glance over the 1970s Looney Tunes specials because they're just not good. Instead of coming up with a whole new thing, they just recycle older Looney Tunes bits, which are just fine as they are. And what's worse is they try to match up the animation of the modern stuff to the older stuff, and it just does not work. Now, I understand that that's easier as far as production goes, but man, your end result is shit. But I'm not gonna sit here and make a big deal about Bugs Bunny's Valentine, so let's move on to some other stupid Valentine's Day crap. Oh, I shouldn't be so mean. I don't mean that. I'm just being bitter. So Valentine's Day in 1979 would prove to be very popular for old cartoon Valentine's Day reboots, because not only would Bugs Bunny get in on the Valentine's Day action, but so would Popeye, with the Popeye Valentine's Day special, Sweethearts at Sea, which first aired on CBS February 14th, 1979, and unlike the Bugs Bunny Valentine special, this actually has all new animation, and it wasn't just a bunch of rehashed old shorts put together in like a flashback episode. No, this is all new. Now, this special was aired right in the middle of a resurgence of the popularity of Popeye, because after laying dormant for several decades, the Popeye license was eventually purchased by Hanna-Barbera, who gave us the all-new Popeye Hour, which aired on CBS from 1978 to 1983. So for a TV show, that's a tremendously long time. And in 1987, Hanna-Barbera would once again try to push the Popeye character with Popeye and Son, which aired on CBS September 12th, 1987 to December 12th, 1987. So this did not last long at all. So anyways, Sweethearts at Sea was not just another Valentine's Day special, to which there really aren't that many. No, this was an hour-long TV movie. This was a pretty big deal when it came out, but apparently it wasn't a big enough deal because it was never released on VHS. But let's move on to a Valentine's Day special that did have a shit ton of home media releases, with the Berenstain Bears' Comic Valentine, which first aired on NBC February 13th, 1982. Hey, wait a minute. Anybody else notice how Popeye's son doesn't really look like him? This kid looks sort of like Richie Rich. I mean, Popeye's nephews look more like Popeye than this this kid does. I don't know. If I were Popeye, I'd be asking some questions. But anyways, I think that we all forget how popular the Berenstain Bears were. I mean, they had legions upon legions of fully illustrated books, a television special for pretty much every holiday. I mean, the Berenstain Bears were a pretty damn big deal. And home media distributors certainly thought so too, because all of the Berenstain Bears TV specials got multitudes of home media releases. And of course, the Berenstain Bears comic Valentine is no exception. It would be released on VHS in 1982 by Embassy Home Entertainment, and Embassy Home Entertainment also released it on Laserdisc in 1984. In 1988, this will be released on VHS by Scholastic Home Video. And in 1989, this was released on VHS by Kids Classics Home Video. And for some reason, the title was changed to The Berenstain Bears and Cupid's Surprise. I'm not really sure why. And in 1992, this was released on VHS by Good Times Home Video. And each of these distributions are relatively easy to find, except for the Scholastic release, mainly because, and I'm guessing, that this was only distributed to school book fairs. But let's shift gears from children's cartoon characters to the big screen. Now, of course, there's been a lot of Valentine's Day movies that are romantic comedies, and I'll be damned if I'm going to talk about them. But what about something a little more interesting, and how about a Valentine's Day horror movie? Only one comes to mind, and that's My Bloody Valentine, which was released in theaters February 11th, 1981. And this was released amongst the great insurgence of slasher films throughout the 80s. And this one is a tad bit unique because the boogeyman in this one is a miner. And no, not a miner as in you can't serve him at bars, but a miner. That's right, he works in a mine shaft. He wears a gas mask, a hard hat, a little lantern, and kills people with a pickaxe. So what in the world is the backstory here? Well, basically, there's this little mining town where there was a Valentine's Day dance, and some of the supervisors from the mine went to the dance, leaving the mines unattended, and therefore leaving the miners on their own. And part of the supervisor's job is to monitor the methane levels within the mines. And since they weren't there to make sure the methane levels were within limits, the methane levels reach critical and there's an explosion, leaving pretty much all the miners dead except one, who becomes a vengeful pickaxe-wielding maniac who hates Valentine's Day and seeks to horribly murder anyone who dares celebrate. This being the case, the town henceforth bans any kind of Valentine's Day celebrations. So yeah, it's kind of like a more severe Footloose. And like always, there's a group of obnoxious teenagers who decide to break the town law and celebrate Valentine's Day as only obnoxious teenagers can. Oh boy, that means a lot of people are going to get a pickaxe to the head, and that does indeed happen. Now, this was a pretty moderate success at the box office because at the time, people were hungry for slasher films. It was made on a rather modest budget of $2.3 million and took in $5.7 million at the box office. Now, you might think that this is just another slasher film, but it's pretty unique, as it's really the only horror movie that takes place on Valentine's Day and involves a killer miner. So there's that. Now, of course, since then, there have been a few horror movies about Valentine's Day, but if you're like me, then you might consider any horror movie made after 95 null and void, because they suck. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but the so-called postmodern horror movies are just terrible. I don't know, I guess I'm just nostalgic and sentimental about the good old days, so anything modern just isn't going to cut it. And there was even a remake of My Bloody Valentine in 2009 that sucks, to the surprise of no one, especially me. Well, anyways, the original, otherwise known as the real My Bloody Valentine, was released on VHS by Paramount Home Video in 1988. So it took a while, but it did eventually get released on VHS, and you can find these today rather easily, but the price? Pretty damn steep. Yeah, the average seems to be around $60. Now, I did find one for $40, but man, that's still pretty high. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but horror movie VHS fetch a steep price. But how about we once again shift gears and get out of the fantasy realm of Valentine's Day and focus on something with a little bit more historical significance. And I'm talking about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which was released in theaters June 30th, 1967, and is a gangster film based on the real-life event, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which happened in Chicago, February 14th, 1929. And that's where a bunch of gangsters were shot to death by rival gangsters disguised as policemen. And this movie is all about that, and if you like gangster gangster movies, then this is right up your alley, especially if you're looking for something to watch on Valentine's Day that doesn't include sappy love stories or Charlie Brown. This was released on VHS by Key Video in 1986, and again in 1991 by 20th Century Fox as part of their gangster collection, and they would release this again in 1993 in just a normal, nothing happening, really boring box. Now, the last two distributions are extremely easy to find today and for dirt cheap, and the Key Video distribution, not so much. So what do you do when you have an historical event that involved mass murder yet has a really cool name? Well, you have a pro wrestling pay-per-view event named after it, of course, which we would get with the WWF's In Your House St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which went down February 19th, 1999. Throughout the 90s, the WWF would host monthly pay-per-view events that were simply called In Your House. The In Your House events started off being numbered, but eventually these In Your House events would get secondary titles instead of numbers. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre is the 27th In Your House event and would be the last one. This was released on VHS, and if you collect pro wrestling VHS, then you know that they tend to get a little pricey. However, it does seem that the younger the material is, the less it goes for. So you can find this today for around $10, but then there's always these kind of guys. Okay, calm down there. So Valentine's Day is weird. The origin is quite interesting. However, the day itself is not. There's really nothing to watch about it. There's not too many TV specials, and if you're not a fan of romantic comedies, then there really isn't any movies either. Yeah, I hate Valentine's Day, but I can appreciate people trying to make it fun. And if you like Valentine's Day, then knock yourself out. So I hope you enjoyed this little adventure. It's a bit shorter than my other adventures are, but that's because I really got nothing to work with here. But it is what it is, and I hope you enjoyed our little Valentine's Day exploits here on the VHS Pirate Ship. Happy Valentine's Day. Be sure to hit subscribe and give a like, and take care out there, and I'll see you next time, only on Captain Adam's VHS Pirate Ship. VHS Pirate Ship.